September 11th, 2001, 22 years ago. I tell this to people all the time. I remember exactly where I was, what I was wearing, the people around me when that day hit. When we found out that the United States suffered a terrorist attack that destroyed the World Trade Center, a plane that was flown into the Pentagon, and a plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. Afterwards, we saw an outpouring of patriotism and respect for this country that I've never seen in my life at that point, and probably have never seen afterwards. But now that this is gone, and we waged a war to avenge the 9/11 attacks, and we won that fight. But the question is, has anything really changed? The threats may be still out there, but are they really from ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban? All three are on the run, and all three haven't been heard from in a very long time. The reason why I say those threats are still out there is because they weren't only trying to destroy paralyze air travel or cripple our military or financial situations here in the United States. They were trying to destroy our way of life, our freedom, making us think that terrorism is against every corner, that no one would be safe. Unfortunately, those are the threats that we are contending with here and now. And it's not Al-Qaeda or ISIS-K or Z or F or whatever they call themselves, or the Taliban. It's not even from Russia or China, Japan, or any other adversarial government against us. The threats, the 9/11 style types of threats, are brewed right here at home. I know I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for saying this, and I do not care. Someone has to speak up about this. And right now, unfortunately, that someone happens to be me. With everything that's happened in the last 7 years, with everything that's happening now, it has shown us that we may be primed for another 9/11 style attack, but not because of a foreign adversary or foreign actors, but because of our own people. And we're not just talking about people living in the woods, having 24 guns in their homes. We're talking about people in our own government. Senators, congressmen, and former presidents. And yes, unfortunately, I have to talk about Donald Trump himself. Because he, more than anyone else in this country, is at the very center of those threats. He is at the very center of a congresswoman threatening to go to war for Donald Trump. He is at the very center of a state congressman saying he doesn't want to pull his rifle out if he goes through another civil war. He is at the very center of a governor candidate saying that if you want to get to Trump, you'll have to come through us and we're card-carrying members of the NRA. He is at the very center of a former governor saying that the next election after 2024 could be decided by bullets. And most recently, Donald Trump is at the very center of a sitting congressman saying that he doesn't want violence, that he doesn't think that they should resolve their disputes by violence. However, his words, but when you start telling people they can't express the participation in this very American experience through a vote, then they start looking for other ways, and they are not. The vote is the best way to do it. The other ways are not so good, and I worry if they start to take away that vote away, you could see bloodshed in this country, unquote. The threats from 9/11 may have changed in the last 22 years. The names of the threats may have differed. Their motives may be different. 9/11 was about inflicting a terrorist attack on this country. What these people are doing are trying to inflict damage to this country by politics if necessary, but by violence if they want it. 9/11 was a moment that Americans should see themselves as Americans. But unfortunately, we have forgotten the lessons of September 11th, 2001. Not the overarching lesson of being prepared for combat, prepared for an attack, but the overarching lesson this country is stronger together. Unfortunately, in the last 23 years, we have not shown that. In the last 23 years, we had an African American president for the first time in this nation's history. Regardless of how you feel about him politically, that was historic. But unfortunately, the prejudices of our past bled into that. And the man who helped build those prejudices was the man who replaced him as President of the United States, Donald Trump. Whenever Donald Trump had the chance to unite this country after a disaster, whether it be a mass shooting that crippled this country and our sense of safety, or a natural disaster which took lives and the livelihood of many Americans in this country, he couldn't unite this country as so many people tried to do after the nightmare of September 11th. Even a man like Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor of New York City, one of the principal cities that the 9/11 attacks happened, the man who was called America's mayor, the man who probably would have been a shoo-in for the presidency, but now has been reduced to being nothing more than the same kind of disastrous person, the same kind of suicidal person and people that attacked us on September 11th, all for the sake of one person. I don't think we learned a damn thing from September 11th, 2001. I like to think we did. I like to believe that that day transformed our country, but unfortunately, it didn't transform our country into the way it should have been, a more United States of America. But here we are, 22 years later, after perhaps one of the most disastrous attacks on American soil since the bombing of Pearl Harbor in World War II that pushed us into World War II. And our country hasn't learned a damn thing. And more to the point, it seems that some of its people in key positions of power are channeling those types of threats themselves. September 11th, 2001 should have been a watershed moment for this country, to all of us. And it was for all of us, for a good motion, many of us, people like me who care about this country, who want to succeed, who want to keep it safe. But instead, to so many people in this country, just because they're one person, one candidate is not the leader, they're willing to burn it all down. We have to ask ourselves, why? Why would any American congressman, senator, or president, why would any American want to do that? Is it for power, for money, or unwavering faith into one person? I can't believe that would happen. But unfortunately, in the last 23 years, we have seen it happen. Our country right now is still in peril. But it's not in peril from foreign forces who want to destroy our country. It's one thing to be attacked by another nation from the outside. But it's something else when the attack comes from the inside. But it's even disastrous when it's coming from the people we are supposed to trust with our freedoms and our lives. The people I mentioned in this video are the ones who will cause the next 9/11. I'm sorry to say that, but unfortunately, given to what we've seen in the last 8 years, during the Trump regime and the Biden administration now, it is all but true. I wish to God it weren't. I wish that there was a way to stop this. But there are people out there that don't want to stop it. And very few, but many more than we realize, are all but willing and able to pull the trigger. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.